Guruka Khalsa, Guruka. My name is Gursant Singh. You can see me here doing Yogi Bhajan's Tantric Yoga during the 1990s. I was part of that Yogi Bhajan Tantric Yoga cult for 30 years. So I can speak with expert knowledge about why Kundalini Yoga and this Tantric Yoga is not part of Sikhi. Guruka Singh Khalsa of SikhNet will be making arguments that Tantric Kundalini Yoga has a place in Sikhi at 3HO Foundation's Kundalini Teachers Training in Amritsar, Punjab on 4th of April through the 12th of April 2015. I've put a link to that description of that Kundalini Yoga course there in Amritsar, Punjab in the description to this video. Now there's a director at SikhNet and another Yogi Bhajan follower who try to justify the practice of Yogi Bhajan's Tantric Kundalini Yoga as part of 3HO's twisted form of Sikhi, making the same arguments that Guruka Singh will be using at the Kundalini Yoga course in Amritsar. So I want to respond in this video to the Bhajanists' position that yoga has some integral part in Sikhi. And I also encourage all Sikhs to respond as well against the statements by these Yogi Bhajan followers. So the first Yogi Bhajan follower says, and I'll just describe this person as H. Kaur Khalsa, you should know that yogic practices until recently were never recorded in writing, and the source would be either Sant Hazara Singh Ji or Baba Virsa Singh Ji, two reputed Sikh yogi teachers of the 1940s. And this is this Kaur Khalsa who's talking here. Now I respond with, I regret saying this, but this post shows the extreme ignorance under which most Bhajanists pursue these fruitless arguments, trying to prove that Kundalini/Tantric Yoga has a place in Sikhi. First of all, yogic practices have been recorded in writing for thousands of years. Have you ever heard of Patanjali's yogic sutras? There are many other ancient treatises on the different practices of various forms of yoga. The internet is readily available, and I wish you Bhajanists would make use of it before making such uneducated statements. Your second point shows that you have bought into the Bhajanist form of 3HO history. Baba Virsa Singh had nothing to do with yoga. In fact, that was why they had the falling out, Baba Virsa Singh and Yogi Bhajan, because Baba Virsa Singh didn't like the idea that Yogi Bhajan was teaching yoga. For your information, I go on to say here, Baba Virsa Singh was the source of the popular 3HO mantra, Ek Onkar Sat Nam Siddhi Waheguru, not Yogi Bhajan. And perhaps you don't know that pre-1971 through 3HO was all about Virsa Singh. Yogi Bhajan constantly talked about him and kept Baba Virsa Singh's shoes on his altar. After the visit to India in spring of 1971, Virsa Singh was conveniently written out of 3HO history, although he had a very profound effect on YB and early 3HO. I'll give you a clue. White clothes were not YB's idea. The story about Sant Hazara Singh being a practitioner and teacher of yoga appears to be a complete fabrication by YB. An eminent scholar who researched the history of the sources for YB's Kundalini Yoga found amongst these older people who had met Sant Hazara Singh, they said Sant Hazara Singh was an uneducated and retired farmer who lived very modestly and barely spoke. Now this scholar goes on to say, a close inspection of the events between 1968 and 1971 suggests that Yogi Bhajan was acutely aware of the ways he was presenting his yoga and often reimagined it to suit his audience, at times for long-term goals and at other times to suit his immediate needs. The figures of Sant Hazara Singh, and to a lesser extent Lama Leland Po, were used to cover for the actual personages and influence of Maharaja Virsa Singh and Swami Dharendra Brahmachari. giving a provenance to Kundalini Yoga that also secured Yogi Bhajan's possession of it. Without the lineage that he claimed, this is the lineage that Yogi Bhajan was claiming, and without creating Kundalini Yoga out of whole cloth, Yogi Bhajan is best thought of as neither a lineage holder nor an inventor, but as a bricoleur who brought together elements of different practices and presented them to his students as a distinct entity with a romantic mythology surrounding it. Perhaps this says as much about Yogi Bhajan as it does about the expectations and hopes of those who believed in him. All Bhajanists should read carefully this recent academic paper by the scholar quoted above, which has thrown new light on the origins of Yogi Bhajan's Kundalini Yoga, casting serious doubts on its supposed origins. And I'll quote from the book, from the paper, I should say the academic paper. It says, as opposed to the official history of Kundalini Yoga that claims it as an ancient and secret tradition prior to Yogi Bhajan's open teaching of it, this article argues that it was a bricolage created by Yogi Bhajan himself. End quote. This is from the Sikh Formations Religion Culture Theory, Volume 8, Issue 3, 2012. This is a special issue, the 3HO Sikh community from Maharaj Bhajan Tantric, the construction of Yogi Bhajan's Kundalini Yoga. And I'll put a link to this paper in the description to this video. Now, this Kaur Khalsa goes on to say, forgive my reference of Guru Nanak. You are right. He did not give his son, but he did give mantras to his son to teach the yogis. End quote. And I say, could you please provide some references to this matter from non-3HO literature? Otherwise, it is more Bhajanist blather. Now, this Singh Khalsa, who's also a director over there at SikhNet, he chimes in this discussion and says, and I quote, Udasi Mahant Kirpal, during the time of 10th Guru, fought heroically in the Battle of Bangani. And then I say, in response to that, so what? Pir Buddha Shah and his sons and followers also fought bravely. For both the Mahant and the Pir, this had to do with devotion to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. What does this have to do with Sikhs practicing yoga? So then Khalsa goes on to say, and I quote here, the second leader of the Udasis after Baba Siri Chand was Baba Gurditta, the 6th Guru's eldest son, whom he gave up for adoption to Baba Siri Chand. And I say in response, again, so what? What does this have to do with Sikhs practicing yoga? So then Khalsa says, the oldest, most authentic history on Sikhs, the Suraj Prakash Granth, says that Guru Nanak taught something called Siddh Asana. And I say in response, you say something like called Siddh Asana. With all due respect, if you don't know what Siddhasana is, what kind of a yogi are you? Siddhasana is merely a way of sitting for meditation. It is not a yogic posture, such as Hala Asana, Bhujagasana, and other postures which are designed to change the body's consciousness. And by the way, if you look at the writings of Patanjali, when he uses the term asana, he refers to sitting for meditation, not physical yoga postures. There are many schools of yoga in India that do not do physical yoga. So this Khalsa further goes on to say, and I quote here, it is also well known that Guru Nanak himself, before emerging in the river, meditated in pyre yards and slept on jagged rocks as a form of yogic-like practices, spiritual practices. And I say in response, well known by whom? How about some references to this matter from non-3HO literature? Then this Khalsa says, there is a yoga, kriya, given as an instruction in the Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib Ji, written by Bhagat Jaidev Ji. And I say in response, so, because one Hindu Bhagat describes a pranayama technique, we are to assume this means physical yoga, and pranayama is an integral part of Sikhi. Where are Guru Arjan Sahib's writings on yoga? Where are Bhai Gurdas Ji's writings on yoga? Where in the Janam Sakhis does it mention even one of the Guru Sahiban practicing physical yoga? What about the Hetnamas of Bhai Daya Singh and Bhai Nanlai, that a Khalsa should not practice any tantric asanas, yantras, mantras, and tantras? And I'll put a link here to this YouTube video I did with a letter to Guru Mustak about this very subject. Tantric yoga asanas and the tantras and mantras of Yogi Bhajan are not a part of Sikhi. Dr. Gursant Singh outlined this quite clearly in a book after spending months with Yogi Bhajan. I'm sure by now you've at least heard of this book, Sikhism and Tantric Yoga, which I encourage you to read, if for no other reason, to try and understand how most of the Sikh world views Yogi Bhajan, 3HO, and the un-Sikh-like practices Yogi Bhajan taught you, and you so stubbornly are attached to. So again, I will put a link to that book. It's a PDF, it's free at this link. So I go on to say, these two Yogi Bhajan followers, look, let's put this nonsense to rest for once and for all. In the Caliph's life of Guru Ram Das, we find the following. Chapter 2. A company of yogis with their superior went to make trial of the Guru. They said, "Great king, thy Sikhs practice not yoga with its 8 limbs or accessories, and without doing so, the mind is never at peace. Till the mind is at peace, God is not obtained. Till God is obtained, salvation is impossible. And until salvation is obtained, the soul wanders through the 84 lakhs of existences. O Guru, how can thy Sikhs obtain salvation? What advantage do they gain by serving thee?" Okay, can you see that? The yogis said, "Great king, thy Sikhs practice not yoga with its 8 limbs or accessories, and without doing so, the mind is never at peace." Let me translate that into American English. The yogis said, and I quote, "Great King Guru Ram Das Ji, your Sikhs do not practice yoga. Can it be any clearer than that? And you can't claim that the Singh Sabha movement took out the yoga because this account was written before the Singh Sabha movement happened. Also, please notice that the yogis are referring to the 8 limbs of yoga. This is a reference to Raja Yoga of Patanjali, which begs the question, if Guru Ram Das Ji was practicing the Raj Yoga of Patanjali, why did the yogis state very clearly that the Sikhs were not? And I conclude by saying, the Raj Yoga of Guru Ram Das Ji was the king of yogas, Simran, remembrance of and devotion to the Lord, not the Raj Yoga of Patanjali. Now I suppose that some Bhajanist is going to write, well, maybe the Sikhs didn't actually practice yoga, but that was their own failing, because the Gurus really wanted them to practice yoga, because they themselves did. There's no evidence of any of the Sikh Gurus practicing physical yoga. This is a complete false lie that Yogi Bhajan made up. So, in your dealings with the Yogi Bhajan followers, please use these arguments, and you're welcome to search for the other arguments that are written in Dr. Gursant Singh's book. And if you go to this course in Amritsar that's being taught there for teachers training, please confront Guruka Singh with these facts about how Kundalini Yoga and this Tantric Yoga don't have anything to do with Sikhi, and they're no part in Sikhi. Thank you for your time. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.